just the Mind Sculptor. He may be playing events around the end step and just starting the beatdowns that way. He just played ultra conservatively, which, some people may have disliked or, judged him for that, but he was getting himself in a situation where he could not lose.
Yeah.
It was actually impossible.
And you see that a lot in Legacy, I find, especially when people play decks like Blue White Miracles. Like, they'll set up these situations where they definitely can't lose the game, but they're not really trying hard to win it.
Yeah.
So, and we saw that earlier where you end up drawing matches because of that, So, I think, again, if Jacob's on the play, I believe, is that true? Is Jacob the higher seed in this?
Jacob, let me confirm with you really quick. Jacob is not going to be on the play. Jacob is the 4 and Jack is the 3.
Okay, so is actually going to be on the draw, which, again, I don't think is too bad for him, just because his deck is, he can still win on turn 2. Gives him an extra draw step for Cabal Therapy. And Gitaxian Probe Cabal Therapy is the kind of draw that Jacob's going to be able to go off if he has his combo, regardless of what's in Jack's hand, pretty much,
Sure.
Because game 1, Jack doesn't have many permission spells. He has 4 Force of Wills, 1 counter spell, but that's really it. He doesn't have cards like Spell Pierce or Spell Snare or anything like that that can counter anything that Jacob's trying to do. So again, Jacob knows this. So even if he doesn't have a Gitaxian Probe, he can just go Cabal Therapy you, naming Force of Will. Nope. Okay, let's see if you have the 1 counter spell in your deck.
Yeah. Showtime.
Yeah.
Yep.
So. Even though he's not on the play, I still like Jacob's position right here.
And there's even one card in his deck that's a little bit unique to see. As you see, there's 1 copy of Silence in his deck as well. So, if he does draw that, he can kind of lead out there with that. And, if that gets countered, he's probably going to, use that as the green light. And if it doesn't get countered, then all systems go.
Mm-hmm. So. And the real question is, are we going to see a turn 2 counterbalance from Jack? Turn 2 counterbalance is, even though he can't activate, even a land could be devastating because it counters those Lotus Petals. And as we saw earlier, Lotus Petal is very important for Jacob sometimes. So.
Some people tweeting us here in the booth wondering why this deck is called Tin Fins.
Don't ask me. I'm against it.
Yeah, not quite sure either why it is called that. So
we found out earlier, apparently, and I can't believe this is true because it's so stupid, but apparently.
People on Twitter are claiming it's because it's from an episode of C-Lab 2021.
Is from an episode of C-Lab 2021? That's what we're getting on Twitter? Is it bad that I don't know what that show is?
C-Lab 2020. I think it's a show on Adult Swim.
Adult Swim, yeah, of course it is. All those shows with those goofy names. It's from a restaurant called
Grizzlebees.
From a restaurant called
Grizzlebees. Okay.
Oh,
hey,
that's not. The episode was called Tin Fins. That's not obscure at all. So, Legacy players and their deck names, I'll tell you.
Okay. I mean, it's no dumber than, Callblade.
Yeah.
Whatever. Every Magic deck name is stupid.
Yeah. Wow. That's how you really feel.
Oh, what'd you lose to? Eggs.
Yeah. Do you like the shard names for deck names like Jund, Nesper?
No, those are stupid too. If you don't know anything about Magic, like my mom, will hear me and my friends talk, and she's like, "What are you guys talking about? You ever talk about Magic at a restaurant? People around you probably think you're an alien." It's the same way I hear whenever you're sitting at a table and I hear people talking about World of Warcraft. I don't play World of Warcraft, but I feel sorry for the people who are sitting around us at restaurants when we're just talking about Magic, because we must sound like the weirdest human beings on earth.
Not sorry about it at all.
Hey, so what'd you do this weekend? I went to a tournament. I played Tin Fins. Ended up playing against Sneak and Show a couple times. But that Tin Fins deck is great. Oh yeah, that's awesome. Did you play against Maverick? Maverick? Who plays Maverick anymore? No way, man. There's too much Blue White Miracles out there. Imagine you heard that conversation at a restaurant. We should just have decks actually, I guess Reanimator's. There's really no good names out there. You can't name it for the public, for the muggles.
Yeah. You're trying, what should we call it? Blue, white, red then? Because that's gonna make a lot of sense.
Yeah. 60 card trading card game version 7.
Yeah. think no matter what we say, it's going to be tough for him to understand it. But it's the game we know. It's the game we love.
So there we go. There's your answer. It's from a C-Lab 2013 cartoon. 2021.
2021. Yep.
If you watch Adult Swim at 3 in the morning, you would get that reference.
Yeah. And if you don't, then you won't.
Yeah.
I guess we're just not hip enough. We have an episode summary here. Episode plot summary from Twitter. The crew of C-Lab are in a preview for the movie Tin Fins, which adds for the restaurant. Grizzlebees.
Oh, come on.
Thank you, Runst MTG. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Listen, I am a self-proclaimed nerd. We're all nerds. We're all geeks. Yep. But do we really have to start naming our decks after episodes of C-Lab 2021? I mean, come on. Let's name it after like sports teams like the New York Knicks.
Yeah, and cereal like Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah, like manly stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. When's the next combo deck gonna be called Cinnamon Toast Crunch? Because it'll be the best one because it's the best cereal.
Like Maverick's a good name. You know, that's from Top Gun. That's a good name.
Yeah.
Tin Fins.
Yeah. You done?
Yeah, I'm done.
The final spots be underway here. Jack is keeping and Jacob is not. You want to go to rant while Jacob's shuffling? You can.
No, I'm not going to rant about deck names anymore.
Okay, fair enough.
I feel I'm a little upset that Jacob has to mulligan because I'm rooting for Tin Fins.
Oh, you're biased.
I'm a little biased,
okay.
Mostly because if he wins, it means the match will be over in 10 minutes, and not 87.
But look at Jack's sweet shirt. You know what that is?
It's a video game.
Yes,
what
it
is
is.
That? Is that Legend of Zelda?
I believe it is Legend of Zelda. Yes. I wish we could zoom in on that a little bit there. I'm on the Jack side of things right now.
That is a good shirt. Yeah. You know what? You sold me.
Yep. It's not hard to do. Turncoat.
So, yeah, it looks like Jack kept his opening 7. Is Jacob on 6 now?
He's taking 1 mulligan thus far, so he's going to be looking at 6. Makes you wonder, one thing about this deck I'm super curious about is how well does it mulligan, because the pieces of this deck are so strange and unwieldy. You know, are you mulliganing just for Entomb? But, you know, some of your opening hands can look real goofy with, like, Shallow Grave, Gora's Vengeance, the Silence, the Tendrils of Agony, Children of Corliss in your deck. You know, some of the opening hands can look strange.
I don't know. Again, it's a 2-card combo deck. It has 4 copies of Brainstorm, 4 copies of Ponder. So I think any deck like that generally is not going to mulligan badly, you know?
Okay.
There's plenty of 6-card hands I think that you can get that are perfectly reasonable and still allow you to go off on turn 2.
We are underway here in the final Star City Games Open Series in Las Vegas. About to crown a champion as we see Jacob Keswick-Ataxian Probe.
And that is a huge card here. Like we said, we thought it was a good card in the matchup. And there is a main deck rest in peace. How did we not mention that?
I don't know, because he has 3 of them.
Main deck rest in peace, which kind of puts a damper on Jacob's plans.
That makes it a lot harder to win. Like, a lot harder.
Like impossible.
Yeah.
I don't think there's an answer to it in the main deck, is there?
Taking a look at it right now.
And then we have that classic zoom in to give you an idea.
You see
Looks
a
like
Force
a grainy
of Will.
steady cam.
We see a Force of Will, Rest in Peace, a Plains, a Scalding Tarn, a Polluted Delta, and a Brainstorm here. So Jacob is going to take a look at those cards like Ataxian Probe, write them down. You're going to see a Lotus Petal. What can he do here? Lotus Petal. And he's going to cast Brainstorm.
Looks like he's trying to just win this turn.
1, 2. Did you see him take a good look at Jake there?
Well, we have a ritual. He could theoretically win this turn. I mean, it is possible. He has a ritual, which is the one thing he needs. If he has an Entomb and Shallow Grave, that's the second part, and all he needs is a Cabal Therapy to deal with the Force of Will. But again, even if he gets a Cabal Therapy, he can at least get rid of the Rest in Peace.
Yeah.
But like Jack will likely
force that. Yeah, he'll fight over that.
So
you're gonna see Jacob resolve his Brainstorm. He's gonna sacrifice the Polluted Delta, shuffle the garbage away, likely search for an Underground Sea here. And we'll see what he's going to do. As there's your Underground Sea, a beautiful one there, black border and all.
I wonder if Jacob will just concede if the Rest in Peace actually does resolve, because I'm not sure he has any answer to it, unless he just ramps up to 8 mana and casts Grizzlebrand.
I mean, he could Dark Ritual a bunch into that, as you're going to see Cabal Therapy.
Oh, so he does have the Cabal Therapy, but it looks like we're probably going to get a fight over that.
Oh, we'll see who he's targeting with that, too. That could be a little interesting.
That's true. He also has a Lotus Petal in his hand, so
He's going to cast Brainstorm in response. Hit 1,
Oh,
counter
wow.
spell. Vendilion Click, Force of Will.
So again, the question is though, does he want to hide the Rest in Peace and let the Cabal Therapy resolve?
Yeah, that's a very scary proposition.
Because like, if he lets it resolve, then Jacob knows that he hid the Rest in Peace.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
Jacob can name Force of Will,
Yeah.
which means that if he does have Lotus Petal Ritual, Entomb, Shallowgrave, then he wins the game. But I don't know if does he have 4 cards? He would literally need that perfect combination of cards.
All right, here's Cabal Therapy. What's he naming? We'll get confirmation on the name here.
Looks like he might have just still named Rest in Peace.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it looks like he basically said, my only way to beat Rest in Peace is by naming it and hope that you messed up or tried to rebluff me by not hiding it. So
yeah, there's Rest
yeah,
in Peace.
And there it is. So again, he could hard cast it.
It's not impossible.
Yeah, and again, I kind of like just naming Force of Will there, just because, you know, again, you have to assume that Jack's gonna hide. If he lets it resolve, you have to assume he's gonna hide the Rest in Peace.
Yeah, for sure.
So why not just get rid of those 2 Force of Wills so that your plan of actually casting Grizzleband could work?
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, he would have caught 1 Force of Will, as Jack did hide the other one, and he does have a counterspell in his hand, so he would have been able to catch one of them, but Jack would have drawn into another one there.
And granted, I'm not saying that plan has a high success rate, but it's certainly, you know, one of the ways that Jacob could actually still win this game.
Yeah, I'm not entirely convinced that Jacob can win this game. Now, obviously, there's no reason for him to concede.
No.
But I'm not entirely sure, you know, outside of getting a little bit fortunate and being able to actually cast a Grizzlebrand, it seems like it's going to be pretty hard. Again, scanning his deck list, you know, we don't find a main deck Echoing Truth or anything like that to get it off the board.
He literally has no answer to it. He could just try to win with the Tendrils. He can go, you know, Ritual, Lotus Petal, Gataxian Probe, Ponder, you know, but again, he only has 1 Tendrils of Agony, so
And there you
it's going
see,
to be tough to pull
there
that
you
off.
see a Vendilion Click targeting Jacob. You see a hand of Lotus Petal, Silence, Chrome Mox, Dark Ritual, and Gristlebrand, so just doesn't have the Shallow Grave or the Goryo's Vengeance the turn that he needed to go off.
Yeah, so I think I like taking the Ritual here because Jack knows Jacob's list, and he probably knows the most realistic chance that Jacob has of winning is by casting a Tendrils. So getting rid of a Ritual is probably a reasonable plan. You already have a clock. You basically need to dodge it for 7 turns, plus you have like Counterspell and a Force of Will, so decides to go for Silence instead. Again, I think that's fine as long as you know what Jacob's plan is. You know that he can win with Tendrils.
And for 3 we go. So now the clock is on, and Jacob is working with some very good information here. So this is definitely going to be a tough game for Jacob to win.
And we have a Jace, and I like getting the Jace out there.
Yeah, as do I. I mean, he's...
Yeah, you know his hand. You know he's not winning with Tendrils this turn.
I mean, not only does he know his hand, but he knows his deck.
Yeah.
You know, they have the list.
So getting Jace out there, I like it. I like brainstorming here. Don't think you need to Fate Seal because there is a Marsh Flats in play. I would get a little more gas in your hand.
I mean, get yourself in that position where you just can never lose, which is one that Jack likes to get himself in quite a bit.
Yeah, I think, yeah, so again, I like brainstorming here because you want to get another blue card so you don't have to pitch a Force of Will or a Counterspell. And
2,
exactly what he has.
hit
So
3, Counterbalance, Elspeth, and Tundra are the draws. You see Force of Will, Counterspell in his hand, and he's basically setting it up so that he does have 2 Force Wills and 2 blue cards. Passes the turn back.
So, you know, again, one of these situations where Jack looks like he just can't lose the game at all.
Mm-hmm.
But this time he actually has 2 legitimate threats in play. You know?
Yeah. Attacking from 2 completely different angles as well.
And, you know, Jacob sacks Marsh Flats, gets another land. Tundra here. Not sure if he has a Brainstorm or not. We saw his hand last turn from the click, but we didn't see what he drew.
So, Jack gonna shuffle that, and we'll see if what Jacob can draw this turn. Again, it's a pretty dire situation here. I feel like, he would only play this game on if he's actually won from this position before.
And yeah, I mean, he definitely has, like you said, he couldn't win with Tendrils. Again, it's a one-of, but it is a realistic win for him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know how good Jack's hand is, so.
You do see Jack draw Elspeth for the turn.
And I think he was thinking about just attacking, but now I think he's thinking about maybe casting the Elspeth.
Yeah, I like the fact that Elspeth puts Jacob on a virtual 3-turn clock, but it's realistically a 2-turn one because it makes it so that he can't crack the Martial Act, because it's going to put him down to 12 and make it 2 turns. And especially, again, when you do have the double forcible backup and Rest in Peace already in play.
And he also has a Ponder, which I like putting the Ponder on top of your deck so that you can counter a Dark Ritual, you can counter a Gitaxian, you can counter a Ponder, you can counter a Gitaxian Probe, you can counter a Brainstorm. But he decides to...
Oh, yeah, and so there's a concession.
I would have, yeah. Jacob knows he can't win from that position, so... all right, so Jack won the first game, which is probably the hardest game for him.
Yeah, one big deal there is that he was on the play there, so Jacob did take a mulligan on the draw, but Jacob would rather be on the play. Either way, we are going to cut back to the booth here very quickly for you guys. Time to give away that full year of premium, our last giveaway here over the course of the weekend, giving out, as usual, a full year in our finals match. Just simply going to ask you guys a question. Have you tweet the answer to hashtag SCG Premium. We will select one winner from the people who do get the answer correct. And the question, this time, not going to be a very difficult one. Within Jack's deck, he does have a card that Osip and I did overlook when we were talking about this matchup. It stops Jacob from being able to Shallow Grave and Goryo's Vengeance, a Grizzlebrand back into play. I'm not quite sure how we missed it, but yeah, it's been a long couple of days.
It's been a long day.
Yeah, nobody's perfect. But if you can name that 2-mana enchantment that makes it real difficult to reanimate creatures from the graveyard, that Jack was able to play that game, we'll give you one winner, a full year of premium. So there's another little softball for you guys. But again, tweet the answer to hashtag SCG Premium. Our directors over here will select one winner, and we will announce that after this match is over. As far as sideboards are concerned, as Jacob Kory is going to be on the play this game, down a game. 2 copies of Pithing Needle, 2 copies of Massacre. You're also going to find Echoing Truth here, which is almost certainly going to come in. You got to get that Rest in Peace off the board. 3 copies of Surgical Extraction, a Hurkyl's Recall, 2 copies of Silence, which I think are actually quite interesting here. 2 copies of Pull from Eternity, and 2 copies of Chain of Vapor. I think you're going to want to bring those bounce spells in just to get Rest in Peace off the table and try to go back off, since he had no outs game 1 to that. It also would be nice to maybe bounce one of those counterbalances as well. Silence is one where, Jack does have some counterspells in his hand, and it is a proactive way to make sure that he can go off, so maybe you see that coming as well. And lastly, those copies of Pithing Needle, while they're not great, it can shut down Sensei's Divine Top, and that's not something to be ignored, I don't think. It can also shut down a Jace the Mind Sculptor as well.
Yeah, and Jack's got a lot of deck-verse cards in his sideboard. He's got a Pithing Needle, which can name Grizzlebrand, which I like coming in. Relic of Progenitus, which again, graveyard removal is important. Grafdigger's Cage, which again, another great anti-graveyard card. He's got a 3rd Counterbalance, which we saw just elicited a concession out of Jacob, so probably bringing that one in. I like Vendilion Clique because again, it's a threat that allows that it can play at the end of Jacob's turn as opposed to committing it on his turn. I like boarding in the Humility too, just because again, you're just overwhelming Jacob with a number of cards that he has to bounce. So I kind of like bringing in the Humility too. Yeah. And so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 cards he can bring in, but he's got plenty of cards he can take out. Don't love Elspeth in this matchup. Don't really love Detention Sphere in this matchup because again, it's not like the Show and Tell matchup where it can actually do something. If Jacob actually gets a fatty in play, he's going to win with it. I don't really love Venser Shaper Savant in this matchup either, to be honest. Because if it's Grizzlebrand's in play, it's going to be doing a lot of work. He's going to be drawing like 14 cards, and probably he's going to be able to figure out another way to get into play again. I also don't like Helm Obedience right now, and I think you can probably cut a couple of Swords to Plowshares as well as the Entreat the Angels. So a number of cards that Jack can actually cut Be interesting to see what he decides to do. But again, yeah, definitely don't like the Entreats, don't like the Detention Sphere, or the Elspeth, or the Venser, to be honest.
Yeah, there's definitely some cards that he can move out here, and as you said, he's going to bring in enough cards that attack from so many different angles, and just they're so incredibly different that it's hard to sideboard against them and play around them all. You know, just puts him in a situation where he just has to go for it.
Yeah, he has so many cards that are actually cheap, like Python Needle, Relic, Grafdigger's Cage, Rest in Peace, Counterbalance. Like he has so many cheap cards that can come into play on turn 1 or 2. And Jacob only has so many bounce spells. He's got 2 Chain of Vapors, 1 Echoing Troop. That's really it. He's got a Hercules Recall, which I could see maybe bringing in just because cards like Python Needle, Relic, and Grafdigger's Cage are coming in probably. So you could see him maybe boarding in the Hercules Recall too. But that's still 4 cards.
Yeah, that's
4
not
cards in
very
total that can deal with this wide variety of threats.
Yep.
And one of them can't even deal with the Rest in Peace.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely going to be tough for Jacob games 2 and 3 here, just because Jack still has those permission spells, still have cards like Counterbalance, but now he has anti-graveyard cards on top of the Rest in Peace that he already has in his main deck. So
it's gonna be tough.
Yep, you can't just hope to Cabal Therapy naming Rest in Peace anymore.
Yeah, those Cabal Therapies have. I mean, they were okay in game 1, but they have gotten substantially worse now.
Yeah, there's just too many diverse hate cards here.
Yeah. There's such a wide range of hands that Jack can keep now as well.
Yeah.
By having all those one-ofs, before he may have been mulliganing to try to find Rest in Peace, as we saw earlier when he played against Jason Bukowski from Dredge, where he mulliganed to 4, found a Rest in Peace, and actually ended up winning. Now, he can find Grafdigger's Cage, Python Needle, just an abundance of cards again, and it's hard to imagine what he's, let's say he keeps the 7 cards, what's he snap keeping?
Yeah.
That's the tough part now.
It's like if you don't even count the counterbalances he basically has 6 cards that can disrupt Jacob's combo that he can have in his opener, and only 3 of them are redundant. So a Cabal Therapy, it's going to be tough for Jacob to know what to name on turn 1 before Jack can hide them from a brainstorm. So definitely like Jack's position after board. We'll see how it plays out though.
All right, let's see. Jacob's happy.
Yep, and
Jack is not.
You can see Jack's hand was actually pretty good. He had a couple of lands, he had a brainstorm, he had a ponder, he had a top, but none of his hate cards.
Yeah, no reason. He has so many hate cards. There's no reason not to aggressively mulligan.
No reason not to go for it. You can't risk losing on turn 2.
Yeah.
He didn't even have a Force of Will, so.
And we've seen Jack take these mulligans before. Again, he did play Jason Bukowski during round 5 of this tournament and took a mulligan to 4. Jason playing Dredge. Managed to mulligan into a 1-land hand, or I think it was a 2-land hand, or 1-land hand with Sensitive Divine top, no Rest in Peace, and actually ended up finding a Rest in Peace with a top activation. So he is not afraid to mulligan that far down to find what he needs to win the game.
Yeah, and again, this is one of those things where perfect information like he had earlier in the match just makes it so much better for him, because he knows exactly what he needs to do in terms of mulliganing, which is something a lot of players really don't do a good job of. It's like you really need to know when you need to be aggressive with your mulligans, because a lot of players just lose the games just because they don't mulligan aggressively enough. Simple as that,
Yeah.
So let me see here. It looks like oh, you see at least a counterbalance there. Looks like there's a Caracas. I think he's got top counterbalance. Don't think he has 2 blue though. But it looks like it's good enough.
Alright, ponder it is.
So yeah, it looks like he has yeah, can't quite make out the hand, but he has at least top counterbalance, I believe.
Now you're looking at top, a Tundra, counterbalance, and a couple mystery cards there in the back. Caracas as well. Jacob going to keep with his ponder, pass the turn back. We'll see what Jack draws for the turn. It is an Entreat the Angels. A little bit surprised to see that in this deck still.
Yeah, I would have shipped that to the board immediately, but again, he has a lot of cards in his main deck that aren't very good in this matchup, so maybe there's only 1 left.
Marsh Flat's going to be sacrificed here for Jacob. We're going to search out a Tundra, and let's see if it is showtime or not. As it is pretty difficult to just decide just to go for it here.
I mean, yeah, if it is showtime, I believe it will. Oh, well, this certainly makes things a lot easier.
Yeah, depending on who he's targeting with that Thoughtseize, this will certainly make things a lot easier. And it is Jack, and he's going to spread that hand to counterbalance and entreat the Angels and Arid Mesa and a Caracas.
Yeah, and he, Jack kind of had to let out an audible sigh. Seems a little defeated, kind of knows what's up now. If Jacob actually does pull the trigger, he has no way to interact with it whatsoever. So let's see if Jacob actually does have it.
Let's see what he's going to take. He's going to take entreat the Angels. I think. No. I've seen some trolls in my life. And this is a Children of Corliss.
Okay. Not quite the follow-up I think any of us were expecting here.
I pass it to
That is a pass.
Okay.
Okay, so... And I think even Jack's surprised by that. Yeah.
You're going to see an Arid Mesa get sacrificed here.
Okay, well, the good news is that even if Jack does have a rest in peace, Jacob at least has a win condition in play.
Yes.
So
yes. The Children will give the beats. I'm wondering what's in Jacob's hand because he kept it. As you see a counterbalance here now, so all the ones are off.
Yeah, the ones are off.
And whatever's on top too.
Which means that Entomb is,
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at his deck list right now. Dark Ritual, Taxing Probe, Ponder, Brainstorm, Entomb, Reanimate, Silence, Cabal Therapy, Thoughtseize, just, a few cards. As you see Polluted Delta, and here come the Children. Also, that one's off.
Yeah,
no
more Children will be entering play.
Yeah. And there is no Cavern of Souls in his deck either, so can't get it through that way. So we're going to see a top activation here. Enlightened Tutor, Flooded Strand, and a Counterspell.
Oh, wow. Enlightened Tutor is pretty huge. He can get the rest in peace now if he wants to, if he chooses to.
So we're going to see him draw a Flooded Strand.
Chooses to draw land, so... Okay. Again, having a 1 on top of his deck is still pretty good.
Yeah. And you've seen Jack play these games just ultra conservative. You can make an argument for just taking that Enlightened Tutor, moving on. If he does play a 1, you just put top deck on top of your deck, move on with life. But he's played these games ultra conservative. And I mean, there's no reason not to. He's being beaten down by a 1-1.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's got plenty of time to dig for something a little more impressive.
Enlightened Tutor, Counterspell, and Island. He's going to take the Island there, make sure he does hit his land drop, leave a 1 on top of his deck.
And it's great because he has a 1 and a 2 now on top of his deck, so he can counter Shallow Grave, he can counter Entomb, he can counter Dark Rituals, he can counter pretty much anything without sacrificing his top.
Yeah, and this was the fear that we talked about in the pregame. Just if he is able to get a counterbalance on top and play, it's very, very hard for Jacob to win. And now you see a Blood Moon.
Wow, Blood Moon. Surprising that would be in the deck still. I mean, granted, it would shut off a lot of Jacob's lands, but it would shut off all of Jack's lands as well. So don't think that's going to be entering play.
You see Jack with a Caracas over. You're going to see an Island come into play here, and he's just going to pass the turn back. So Children of Corliss can't give the beat down 16 turn clock and make it 15.
And yep, Jack is pretty comfortable with his situation right here. He's just going to keep making land drops, make sure I can counter anything you cast. Eventually, I'll get a Planeswalker or a Vendilion Flick, and I'll just win that way. So, yep, perfectly reasonable plan. He's got 15 turns before he has to really start worrying.
to get things set up here, as Jacob's draw steps are just mostly irrelevant now because of the top plus counterbalance, 1 and 2 floating there.
Yep.
You see him spinning top again, looking at the 3rd card.
And it looks like we saw...
Look at the land there.
Oh,
Helm of Obedience.
Okay, well, that's something.
That's a way to win the game. And that's a quick way to win the game.
Chooses not to cast it?
Yeah, I mean, at this point...
Wants to wait a little bit?
Yeah, at this point, the lines of play that you and I may make in this game about wanting to get games over quickly are just not in agreement with what Jack wants to do. And I don't think that one way is right or the other. He can get this game over with, but at the same time, he's playing ultra conservatively, making sure that nothing does go wrong. And, he might take the Enlightened Tutor this time simply because he can set up the Helm of Obedience and Enlightened Tutor combo. Yeah, Enlightened Tutor for Rest in Peace combo.
Yeah, and he still has a Ponder if he wants to counter things, but Yeah, we'll see what Jack chooses to do here. Again, he has perfect information. He knows what Jacob will be doing, but again, he doesn't want to have to worry about cards like Echoing Truth or Chain of Vapor. So, might be just content with just hoping to draw a card like Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Yeah.
That's really ideal. That's probably the card he wants to draw the most. And then leave the 1 and 2 on top of his deck so that he can counter everything else that matters out of Jacob's deck.
So we'll see if Jack is finally going to move, and he chooses not to. Jacob's going to draw a card, and going to come across with the children yet again. Going to knock, Jack down to 12.
Yeah, and I kind of like taking the Ponder there instead of Enlightened Tutor just because you get to dig one card deeper anyway. If your plan is to basically just keep this line. Okay, so yeah, no reason.
Piling Needle, going to reveal Ponder here. And Jacob going to pass the turn back. Jack going to rearrange here. You see Ponder, Counterspell, and a mystery card.
So yeah, looks like another top.
Jack going to draw a card. Draws another Sensei's Divine Top, casts that one, and just says go.
And yeah, again, perfectly content, just expecting to eventually draw a Jace, or again, he still has the Helm combo if he really just doesn't draw anything good over the next 10 or so turns. So still in good shape. And again, this is what Jack's deck does. It kind of looks like it doesn't do anything, but he's got such a stranglehold over the match right now that he just kind of waits until he's just ready to do something.
Yeah.
You know?
You saw him ponder there, take the Force of Will to his hand, takes another one, gonna push him down to 10.
On a side note, I think this might be the most damage a Children of Corliss has ever done to an opponent before.
Yeah, in the history.
In the history of the game, yeah.
And you see Jacob discards Shallow Grave. Jack gonna draw a card, puts a Tundra right into play. And so let's see if he's comfortable tapping that now. He is.
Yeah, well, he still has access to Counterspell if he wants.
Alright, there's your Helm of Obedience. And passes the turn back.
Yeah, so he has a Force of Will, that counterbalance that he can pitch to a Force of Will. He still has a 1-drop on top of his deck, along with the Counterspell below it if he needs to dig for that, the Counterspell. So yeah, pretty good shape.
Inevitability is
yeah.
what he is setting up right now. He's doing a nice job of it, as you see a Cabal Therapy. Gonna reveal Sensei's Divine Top. No 1-drops for you, Jacob. You're going to see a top rearrange.
Okay, so that's a perfect card right there. That Brainstorm allows him to actually pull the trigger with the Enlightened Tutor and still have a 1 and 2 drop on top of his deck if he wants to. So I think we're probably going to see the Enlightened Tutor for Rest in Peace next turn.
So you're going to see Jacob come across again, knock Jack down to 8.
Brainstorm, not exactly a Jace the Mind Sculptor, but good enough in this exact situation. So.
And you're going to see a Sensei's Divine Top.
I think he wants to maybe draw a Counterspell.
Maybe he wants to put that on the stack.
Yeah, put it on the stack.
Okay, so he's going to draw.
Oh, it looks like he drew the top instead. But
now he's going to cast Enlightened Tutor.
So yeah, that's again, he has a Counterbalance in his hand and a Sensei's Divine top. So if he wants to, at any point, he could just Brainstorm those 2 cards on top of his deck, and he's back to where he was before. So again, very patient, and he's in a position now where he's just going to win in a single turn, and he's got plenty of Counterspell backup. So definitely a very conservative approach, but a very safe approach that ensures victory regardless of any kind of tricks that Jacob might have out of his deck.
Doesn't matter if you win at 18 or if you win at 1, as long as you're not at 0.
So Jacob might be thinking about maybe bouncing a Helm now, or doesn't have many lines to sort of break this up. He does have like 3 bounce spells, but
you see a top activation here.
He could try maybe cast Surgical Extraction to maybe shuffle the deck.
Yeah, but I mean that can just be countered with top.
Yeah, so
it's not extra paid.
not many things that Jake can do right here.
Now you're gonna see Koryo's Vengeance.
That was a discard.
Okay.
So here we go. Rest in peace.
The Rest in Peace is here. That's the combo with Helmet of Obedience. You're going to see a Hercule's Recall. He's gonna
oh, so here we go.
Brainstorms on the stack. So we're gonna have a little bit of a fight here. I didn't think this would happen. Jacob gonna sack Polluted Delta, go down to 16.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why Jack really doesn't have to worry here because he still has top in play and he has 2 sack lands.
Yeah.
So he still has plenty, and he has a first one in his hand too.
Yeah.
So I'm not too concerned right now.
Yeah, you see the players organizing the stack here. Brainstorm, the most recent spell cast.
So in response to Rest in Peace, we have Hercule's Recall, which Jack responded with the Brainstorm. Jacob responded with by sacking a land to fetch for another land. And now what are we going to have? Surgical Extraction or Dark Ritual?
Dark Ritual. Top activation. 1, 2, 3.
Anything? And we have a Enlightened Tutor.
Enlightened Tutor. Counters the Dark Ritual. Brainstorm still on the stack.
We have an Entomb there. Looks like Brainstorm now resolves.
Yep.
Counterbalance can go to the top. Yep. So now the 2 and the 1 are now on top of his deck, so effectively he can counter every card that Jacob tries to cast.
You see
Looks
Hercule's
like
Recall. You see Jacob going to sack with the Hercule's Recall on the stack. He's got something going on here. I'm not sure if it's going to be good enough, but he's sat here long enough, sculpting his hand. So.
Yeah, again, I mean, maybe Chain of Vapor, maybe Surgical Extraction, but either way, we know that Jacob has a 1 and a 2 on top of the deck, and he can just activate top.
He's going to cast Dark Ritual. Going to activate the top.
I mean, I'm not totally in love with this. Like, you could just let the ritual resolve.
Yeah.
It's not that big a deal. He's basically just. It looks like at this point he's just baiting you.
Yeah, baiting
to
use
keep
all his
activate.
mana.
You have to use all your mana on your turn.
There's a counterbalance. Counter Circle's Recall. Now you see the Rest in Peace on the stack. He's going to respond to that with a Polluted Delta sack.
Because look at that. By using a mana to counter the Dark Ritual, he basically was forced to tap all his live lands. So now he has 2 sack lands, which means he's going to have to sack them and cycle away the 1 and the 2 on top of his deck. So
of course, don't forget about that Forcible plus blue card in Jack's hand.
Oh yeah, he
just
definitely
as a
still
little
has
bit of backup. Entomb.
Again, this is responding to the Rest in Peace.
yeah.
Or this is the Rest in Peace resolve.
No, this is in response to the Rest in Peace, though.
Yeah, again, I'm not sure why you care about this. You have a 2 on top of your deck that counters Goryo's Vengeance, that counters Shallow Grave. Is there a card that he could entomb for?
Not one that I see that matters all that much.
Yeah, I'm not sure why Jack would care about this. It looks like Jacob's just baiting Jack to make a mistake here.
Yeah. And if that's the only thing he can do, that's all he can do.
Yeah, because, someone casts an Entomb in response to Rest in Peace.
Yeah.
I normally wouldn't freak out about it, but again, I think Jack's trying to go through all the scenarios in his head, trying to figure out if there is something in his deck. We have the deck list in front of us, so we can clearly see, what matters. But
and they have the deck list as well, so they are working with very good information. So interesting, very interesting.
It could just be that Jacob's just trying to tap Jack out completely so that he can't activate the Helm this turn. Yep, Jack's still thinking about what he wants to do here. said, okay, so what's it resolve? Ask if you can get me. He said a macro, shuffles it back into his deck. And Entomb goes back into his deck. And yeah, it doesn't look like Jacob has anything. Rest in Pieces looks like it's going to resolve. Are we tapping another mana here, or?
I feel like there may be some pandering. There's your island. There's your home. There's your deck. There's a handshake. All right. All right.
All right. So Jack Colwell wins 2-0. There's just way too many cards that Jacob had to contend with.
Yeah.
And, you know, Counterbalance was an all-star in that match. And again, you said Abrupt Decay pushed Counterbalance to the fringe a little bit, but it's back.